Erev Tov, everyone. B'Shem Hashem, Na'aseh v'Natzliach. Tonight is a very, very special night called Hoshana Rabba. And as much as many of us, I'm not sure who's waiting. Hey, Mark, how you doing? As much as many of us would like to be in shul, including myself, we have to do with what we have. And we have to keep the smile and stay happy. The Kadosh Baruch Hu will definitely see our efforts and bring us the Hoshana Rabba, the Yeshua Rabba, what we all need, Yeshuot from absolutely all our needs. Bimhera v'yamenu amen. So I would like to first introduce the class with a very important Zohar. The Zohar HaKadosh says something incredible about tonight's power, tonight's impact for the rest of the year. The Zohar HaKadosh says, Tahazeh, come and listen or come and see. Bayom hazeh, on the day of Hoshana Rabba, Ha'amim, the nations, Mashlimim u'mesaymim haberachot shelahem. They are basically running out of their blessings. Beshorin badin, and from now on, they are going to the side of justice, din, the harsh part of justice. Israel, the Jews on the other hand, Bayom hazeh, on the day of Hoshana Rabba, Mesaymim hadinim shelahem. They are ending all the bad things, the bad decrees, justice. Beshorim baberachot, and they are entering a phase of blessings. Ki beyom ha'acher, the next day, which is Shemini Atzeret, atedim lehishtarshea im hamelech. They are going to play with the king, to dance with the king. Lakahat mimenu berachot al kol yemot hashana, to grab blessings for the rest of the year. Ubesimcha hahi, and in these festivities, lo nimtza im hamelech rak Israel levadam. Only the Jews are allowed to celebrate with Hashem. Umi sheyoshev im hamelech velokeach oto levado, the one who is sitting on a private meeting with the king, with Hashem. Kol ma sherotzeh hu mevakesh, whatever he wants, he can ask. Vehamelech noten lo, and God is going to give it to him. Ve'al ken Israel matchilim lekabel haberachot. Tonight is the night that we start to get all the blessings. Ve'ha'amim mesaymim birchotehem, and the nations are actually ending with their blessings. Ve'al ken katuv ahavti etchem amar Hashem. And this is why the pasuk says, Hashem says, I love you. Unbelievable Zohar about the power, about the positivity, about the impact of the Hoshana Rabba. This is a turn in our mazal. This is a turn in our sorrows. And Be'ezrat Hashem, this is the way that I want to start the class, by really blessing, wishing for everyone in our kahal, in our town, in the whole world, to really see from tonight and on the Yeshuot. You know, tomorrow afternoon, actually, there is an important hearing that has to do with our status. Here in New York City, the entire world is looking at us. What is going to happen? How is our shul going to look like during the holidays? And this is a very powerful Zohar that we have to believe, and we have to utilize Be'ezrat Hashem to ask Borei Olam tonight, tomorrow morning, to make sure that this Gezerah is going away. And I know I cannot hear you to say that you are answering Amen, but I know that everybody says it and everybody means it. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehakol niya bidvaro. So this is the way that I wanted to start off the shiur tonight. And I want to move on now to something that we do tomorrow morning. Something that we have done actually for every single day of the Hag HaSukkot. And we call those the Hoshanot. The Hoshanot, as you know, is the name of this special day, Hoshana Rabba, which means the Great Hoshana. And we call it the Great Hoshana because it is a day that we are going to surround the Teba 7 times with our Arba Aminim. And why do we do that? What is the concept of the Hoshanot? Have you asked yourself, why do we have to walk around the Teba? what is exactly happening at that moment. And I want to bring what the chef Meshem Mishemuel, a very beautiful sefer, says about the concept of the Hoshanot, the Hakafot of Hoshana Rabba. And he says, and I quote again because I don't want anyone to miss the beautiful word that he's using. Hakafot de Hoshana Rabba hen lehasir homat barzel, to remove the metal, the steel wall ben al Israel le'avihen shebashamayim, that separates us and Borei Olam. And look what he says. You want to know what the walls are made of? Vehem nehashim ve'akravim, the snakes and the scorpions. I'm sure that you have many names in mind already tonight. There are scorpions and snakes that are trying to separate us from Hashem. Who doesn't feel this way tonight? Here in New York City, I think that's everybody's feelings. Hamekifim et halev. They are surrounding us. They are surrounding our heart. They are blocking our joy, our simcha. Ve'enan manihim nikanes bo divrei kedusha. And they don't, and they are against kedusha. They are attacking our schools. They are attacking our shuls. Umebalbelin et hamachshavot. And they are confusing us. They make us feel lost. Now listen to what happens. Ubehakafot de Hoshana Rabba. This was written hundreds of years ago. So says Hashem Mishemuel, during the Hakafot of Hoshana Rabba, we're going to surround the Teva 7 times. Those who have the privilege to do it in shul tomorrow morning, please listen to this. Mesirin et hachomot ha'elu. They are going to remove, tomorrow morning, you will remove those barriers, those walls. Just like the story that happened when Am Israel entered Eretz Israel and conquered the first city, Yericho. I'm sure that you guys have learned this. We surrounded the city of Yericho 7 times. We didn't do anything, we just surrounded with our emunah, with our bitachon in Hashem, and the walls just fell down by themselves. This is the power of Hoshana Rabba. Now, just to end the beautiful ma'amar of the Shem Shemuel, he says, this is not finished, this is only the first part. This is the sur merah, to remove the bad, but there is also the next part, the aseh tov. And he says, Behakafot de atzeret, when we are going to have the hakafot on Shemini Atzeret or Simchat Torah, Aim Sifrei HaTorah, we're going to use now the Sefer Torah, Besimcha Rabba, and we're going to make sure that we do it with joy. Mizena Asa Homa Kedosha. We are going to create now barriers of holiness surrounding us, protecting us from our enemies. Shelo lehaniach likanes davar ra el halev, to not let any evil, any bad mahashavot, any bad feeling that is going to Haz v'Shalom influence our mood, our heart, our joy. Did you hear this? This is so beautiful. This is so accurate. We need to believe, we need to realize what is exactly happening in those hakafot tomorrow and throughout the holiday. But tonight, I want to go a little bit further. Even though this should already be tremendous lessons about the power of Hoshana Rabba between the Zohar and the Shem Shemuel, I want to also tell you what the Sfat Emet says. I'm not going to quote everything he says because it's a little long, but the Sfat Emet is focusing on the, I would say, highlight of Hoshana Rabba. On Hoshana Rabba, already by the time of the Beit HaMikdash, there was one item that would be emphasized, highlighted throughout the day. And this was the Arava. The Arava that is surprisingly the worst of the Arba Aminim. Because the Arava, let's remember, is the one that has no ta'am and no re'ah. There is no taste, there is no smell. It's the worst, it's the Rasha. And the day of Hoshana Rabba was a celebration of the Arava. There was a huge Arava on the Mizbeach. And tomorrow morning, we are going to do also something with the Arava called the Habata. So the Arava is somehow very special and very important. And why is that? Say the Sfat Emet. I'm just quoting the important sentences. Dorot HaShefalim, the lowest generations, like ours today, Akiveta de Meshicha, Shehem Bechinat Arava. We are the Arava. We are the Aravot compared to our ancestors, compared to the Dorot of Tzaddikim we used to have. We are those people. We are celebrating us tomorrow. How? He says, because the Pasuk in Tehillim says, Daloti veli Yehoshia. Daloti means, what is Dal in Hebrew? The poor. The poor is the one that says, when I feel so low, when I feel so down, veli Yehoshia, then Hashem saves me. Then Hashem picks me up. How does that work? Says the Sfat Emet, because the Arava was influenced during the entire holiday of Sukkot to be part of the Lulav, the Etrog, and the Hadassim. And even if it had nothing, it was mashuch, it was pulled by the Arba Aminim. And quite interestingly, he says the Arava needs to belong. The Arava needs to show that he wants to grow. The Tzafzafa, the famous species that is close to the Arava, that is around, he says is pasul, is actually completely out of the picture because it gets its own shape. And our generation needs to remember, needs to get inspired from the previous generations, from their emunah, from their bitachon, from their ma'asim tovim, their zechuyot. And how do we do that? How exactly do we connect ourselves to them? How do we connect ourselves to the tzaddikim? How do we connect ourselves to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? That's also the lesson of the Arava, because the shape of the Arava is, like everybody knows, we all learned in school, the Arava doma lisfatayim. That's also the Sfat Emet. The Arava resembles to the lips. And he says, those lips are doubled. He says, shte sfatayim, there are two parts of the lips. V'nir'eh haremez, ki ha'arava sheva hape b'dibur u'b'shtika. The art of the Arava is to remind us to use our mouth. To use our mouth to sometimes speak, and to use our mouth sometimes to stay quiet, to not say anything. And this is why he says, tomorrow morning we're going to take the Arava. What we're going to do? Havit, vela barich. We have no beracha. We don't say beracha. This is very unusual. You know what? Don't say a beracha. Just don't say a beracha. But why you have to say, I am not saying a beracha? Vela barich. It's very weird. And says the Sefat Emet, and I'll finish this particular point. He says, because the Arava reminds us to also use our mouth to not be open sometimes, to close it. You know, it got me thinking today about all the events that are happening around us. There is a lot of bad mouthing against the Jews. The anti-Semitism on the social media after everything that is happening, pointing fingers at us. Thanks to the mayor and thanks to the governor. People are blaming us. People are accusing us. People are making fun of us. It doesn't look good. There is a lot of bad mouthing. And we have to fight it. We have to fight it with the Arava. We have to fight it tonight. We have to fight it tomorrow. And we have to fight it midah keneged midah, using also our mouth. Using also our tefillot, the tikkun, the limud Torah, everything that is going to happen within the next less than 24 hours. Hoshana Rabba has that power, and we must utilize it. This is the time. There is one more aspect in the Arava, an aspect that is connected to everything we have said before. You know, the Torah doesn't call the Aravot Aravot. The Torah calls the Aravot Arve Nahal, which means that ideally the Arava is growing next to the water. But even if according to the Halakha, they don't really need to grow by the water, the species has to be a type of Arava that is usually growing by the water. There is a message here. And I've read that when we are going to hit the Arava on the floor, on the ground tomorrow, we are also thinking about something else. What is the idea of hitting it? Are we trying to hit someone? Are we trying to be violent? That's not usually the way we do things. And I've seen a beautiful understanding, beautiful approach, where the Arava is full of water. The Arava represents water. And when we hit it, we are trying to extract the water, reminding us the whole holiday of Sukkot was about water, right? If you think about it, the Nisuch HaMayim that started already from the beginning, the Shemini Atzeret, that is the end of Sukkot, where we are going to ask for the water, Mashiva Ruach Morid HaGeshem. The Mishnayot tell us, Behag Nidonim Al HaMayim, we are being judged on the water. And the Arava is that symbol. The Arava is the one and only among the Arba'a Minim that symbolizes water. And what is water? What is the idea of water? Who cares about water? And the answer to that is because water is life. Water is the symbol of life. This is what water is about. In astronomy, if we talk about planets that have life, the one detail that is going to indicate that there is life any place is if there is water. That's how it is. Water is all about life. And the Arava is representing our life, what we are, who we are. And who we are, you know what it is? We have to go back to the first Pesukim of the Beriah, the ones we are going to read very soon. Next Shabbat, when Adam was created, he was called Ruach Memalela, the power of speech, the Dibur, just like the Arava. The Arava has those two messages connected to each other, holding life and representing our lips, because life is all about the way we control our mouth, the way we utilize our mouth. This is what the message of Hoshana Rabba is. Adam is Ruach Memalela. And we must be aware of that power. What did David the Melech say? Va'ani tefillah. What am I? Tefillah only. The Arava is the best symbol for that, because the Arava is the one that is deprived of everything. There are no qualities, there is nothing. The Arava is the Daloti. So how happens Veli Yehoshia? How does Hashem help me? How does Hashem answer me? How does Hashem save me? Because I realize that I still have one thing left. Me, the Arava, the worst of all. The worst generation, the Ikvetah de Meshicha, we still have one thing left. We have one weapon left. And what is the weapon we have? This essence of life that we have is our dibur. Our words, our mouth. This is what the Arava is. And Rabotai, what are they attacking us by? Those mechitzot barzel that we have mentioned in the beginning of the class, what are they trying to do? What are the nehashim and akrabim, to take again the lashon of the Shem Shemuel, are trying to do? You know what they are trying to do? To remove the last power, the last weapon that we have in Galut. This Dor Shafel, our generation, has one weapon left. What is the weapon we have left? Just like the Arava, our lips, our words. And what are they trying to do? To shut down our schools, where we have the Limud Torah, when we have the Tinokot Shel Bet Rabban. They are trying to shut down our shuls, where we have the power of tefillah that is emphasized more than any place in the world. We have to be blind not to see it. Tonight is our chance. Tonight and tomorrow is how we fight. We are going to utilize our mouth the best way we can. We are going to make sure to attack the Nahash, that, by the way, also is using his mouth. That's how he attacked Hava and Adam. That's how he made them sin. He used the mouth. He stole our weapon. And Hoshana Rabba is all about this. And I'm asking, I am begging to think about it, to take the lesson of the Arava. We brought the Zohar HaKadosh explaining how tonight is the beginning of all the berachot. But you know, the beracha is not something that just happens to us. The beracha is something that we need to grab. We have to imagine the beracha as a running shower. There is a shower, there is, it's just there. We have to adjust ourselves. We have to just take the spot and go under that shower and hold the keli, hold the recipient, to hold it, to grab it, and to keep it. That's what the Zohar says. And how do we do that? By breaking those walls. Breaking those walls that are separating us from the beracha. The barriers, those nechashim. How do we push them away? By the message of the Arava. By the message of the Rasha, the one who has nothing, the Dor Shafel. He still has the tefillah. He still has the power of his lips. And we need to take Kabbalot. Because the hard truth is that listening to a shiur is beautiful. Going to the tikkun is beautiful. But what we really, really need to do is to take upon ourselves to improve our behavior, to improve our routine, to improve our habits in the domain of the dibur, in the domain of what the Arava is, the symbol of our generation. And I know that my time is almost up. So I want to end tonight's shiur with a, I think, inspiring story. And I know that everybody is fed up with the coronavirus and we don't want to hear about it. But this story is a story that just happened here in New York City during the times of the coronavirus that we live right now. A story verified by a second source. There was a violinist by the name of Michael who used to, Baruch Hashem, live a normal, healthy, balanced life. He was talented and he would play in weddings, semachot, parties. He was actually a demanded person and he lived a very decent life. And by the time that the coronavirus started to spread, as everybody knows, weddings stopped. And his parnasa was, like many others, very deeply affected. He was unable for a few months to work, especially when you had the Omer, which really, really made everything worse. And he reached a point where he had no more savings, fell into debt. And he realized that there was something he needed to do. And he remembered learning a while ago from one of his rabbis that one of the segulot for parnasa is to read the Birkat Hamazon from the text, word by word, loud and clear. And he told his wife, honey, we got to do something. We need to make Kabbalot. And he said, from today on, Beli Neder, I make sure every time we eat bread, the Birkat Hamazon is going to be sensational. And he did so. At that time, there were no minyanim, there were no shuls. And he started to meet up with different people on minyanim outside, outdoors, including the Shabbat. And people were able to even organize some type of a Seudah Shelishit on a weekly basis. One of the Shabbatot, as he was reading the Birkat Hamazon, after eating bread in Seudah Shelishit, people realized that they had only 10 people. They had only 10 people, and he was still doing Birkat Hamazon. And they're waiting for him. They want to pay Arbit, and they want to go back. They're going to go back home, and he's still waiting. Yossi Beiman, was the name of the person who tells the story. Yossi Bayman was so impressed. He approached Michael and he said, what is this? You don't look like super religious. What are you doing? And he told him about the Kabbalah he had. He was very impressed. The next week, they saw each other again. And Yossi told him, Michael, I want to tell you something. Your story got me thinking. And I have a very, very good contact, a friend of mine who has a nursing home. And I thought about what you told me, your parnasah, the difficulties. And I called him. And he wants to meet with you because the fact that you're playing the violin can actually help out a lot of people these days that are depressed, especially the elderly who don't get any visits. The meeting was arranged and Michael was able to go to the nursing home. He tried for a few days and the feedback was absolutely amazing. The elderly were overwhelmed by the joy and the warmth. The owner of the nursing home said, you're hired, but not just here. I'm going to hire you here, and I'm going to hire you to my 2 other nursing homes that I own. You have a full-time job with me. This is exactly what I needed right now because of the coronavirus, because you are bringing joy to everyone. And that day, everything changed. The parnasah that he had was even greater than the one he had before because it was a full-time job. And he knew why. He knew why. That Birkat Hamazon, this was one Kabbalah that he took. He believed in it. He held on to it. He stuck onto it. But what I love about it is the fact that he used his lips. What we all need to work on today. What the lesson of Hoshana Rabba is all about. What the lesson of the Arava is about. We want to break those mechitzot. We want to take away the bad moods that all the gezerot around us are putting us in. We want to be really in Vesamachta bechagecha. This is a mitzvah that we have, and this is a need that we have in these days. Hashem is asking us to make a little sacrifice. Give me your mouth. Give me your heart. Mean it. Let's utilize it. Let's make those kabbalot, each person in his own level, especially in the domain of dibur. If it's in the tefillah, if it's in the limud Torah, it will for sure change for us. It will for sure be different. It will for sure have an impact. And be'ezrat Hashem, by tomorrow night, we should be able to have very different type of news. To be able to really gather again in our Bet Knesiot safely, because we are absolutely aware since the beginning that we opened our show of the importance of being safe. And we will continue to be safe, but we want to be safe and not, Chas v'Shalom, take away our weapon, our tefillot, our programs of learning Torah. We need that. Tonight, Be'ezrat Hashem, everything will turn. Everything will be for our benefit. And we will be zocheh for the real Hoshana Rabba, for the Geula Shelema, Bimhera v'yamenu, Amen, Ken Yehi Ratzon. I'm going to check for Rabbi Miller. Oh, Rabbi Miller, you're here. Okay, great. So I'm going to make you also co-host. This way you'll be able to unmute yourself. Okay. And I will mute myself.
Rabbi Chazak Baruch. Such beautiful words. So nice to see your face.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to see you too. I see you every day, but I don't have a chance to actually extend Baruch Hashem. Thank you so much for everything that you do, really.
No, sure.